Evening, brothers and sisters. Thank you for joining us tonight. And I know this has been an incredibly difficult few weeks and months. For every one of you, it's a time filled with uncertainty, frustration, and anger. Right now, many of you are working without pay. Others are furloughed and struggling to make ends meet. And all of us are exhausted to the politics that put us here. Now, I want you to know that I see you. I want you to know that I hear you and I understand the pain and the outrage that you're feeling. What's happening right now is not right. No federal worker should ever be treated as expendable or used as leverage in a political fight. Yet, once again, we find ourselves in the crosshairs. After months of reduction in force, agency closing, attacks on our most fundamental rights as a union, and on our basic dignity as workers, we're now carrying the fight of a political fight in Washington that has left hundreds of thousands of us without pay, without certainty, and for too many, without a way to put food on the table, make the car note, or keep a roof over our heads. And if our own suffering wasn't enough, right now, 1 in 8 Americans are at risk of losing food assistance on November the 1st. Head Start programs are running out of funding. Millions of active duty troops are facing the prospect of another missed paycheck. It's immoral, it's inhuman, and it's flat wrong. It is a national disgrace. And brothers and sisters, it must end. Right now, if you go to our website, afge.org, you'll find a nationwide map of resources available for federal employees. Now, this includes everything from food assistance, discounts, and financial assistance. We've also advertised grants that we're providing through our partners, which you can access at FEA.org/shutdown. That's FEA, FEA.org/shutdown. Now, that's because we understand the hardship being caused by, to federal employees by this shutdown. Too many people without skin in the game have tried to frame this as just another partisan fight in Washington. They want to pretend as if our livelihoods are nothing more than bargaining chips in a contest to see which party wins and which party loses. But this isn't a game for us. Certainly isn't a game for me. This is about real people, real families who have dedicated their lives to serving this country. It's about an apolitical civil service that serves all Americans already stretched to the limits, now being pushed to the breaking point, and the damage that will cause long-term to everyone in this nation. That's why earlier this week, I called publicly for an immediate end to this shutdown. If you read my statement, you didn't see me take a side for one political party or the other. What you saw was a call for dignity, a call for fairness, and respect for the millions of patriotic federal employees who simply want to serve their country and get a paycheck for their work. Now, that's not a new position, and it shouldn't be a controversial issue. AFGE has opposed every shutdown in our union's history. We have never and will never support politicians using our livelihoods as a political football. Now, I know there isn't a universal agreement on that position, and I hear that too. We all want to see a government that truly serves working people. We all want to see an end to the chaos that we've seen ravage so many of our lives this year. And I reject the idea that government workers that I represent should have to suffer more after an already difficult year. We are human beings, proud Americans who serve this country with pride, patriotism, and distinction in communities across the country. We don't deserve what's happening to us as far as, this year. We don't deserve what's happening to us right now during this shutdown. What we deserve is to be treated with dignity and treated with respect. Fighting for our dignity means fighting for our paychecks and our rights. Now, those goals are not in conflict. They are part of the same struggle. And the result of our continued unwavering advocacy for our members is already showing results. Just one day after AFGE issued a call to end the shutdown, senators from both parties began meeting to introduce legislation to guarantee that every federal employee furloughed or working will be paid immediately for the full length of this shutdown and in any future shutdown. And that's major, brothers and sisters. In a moment of incredible political division in this nation, we're seeing leaders on both parties coming together to try to take federal employees out of this dangerous game, not just for this time frame, but forever. And I applaud them for that. I really applaud them for that. And late last night, Senate Majority Leader Trump, announced that several other senators confirmed that bipartisan talks are now on the way to find ways to end this current shutdown. Several lawmakers have pointed directly to AFGE's public advocacy as an important factor driving Congress toward a resolution. So at this time, we're calling for Congress to end this shutdown. Our legal team was winning in federal courts, securing a preliminary injunction that stopped mass firing during this shutdown in their tracks at the very same time. Now, that is the power of a union that refuses to be silent no matter what. So let me be clear. AFGE will never back down in the fight for our jobs, for our pay, or for our rights. We're pressing both parties to end this shutdown and end it now. We're mobilizing our locals across the country, flooding congressional offices with calls and stories and making sure that every member of Congress know that federal workers are not pawns. We are the backbones of this country. We need to remember that our power to win these fights come from our solidarity. And we will win the fight that comes our way, right? As long as we join our union, act like a union, and apply pressure together. So what does that mean for you? If you're not a member already, join the union today. Go to join.afge.org and sign up immediately. You need your union, and just as importantly, your union needs you. If you're a member already, sign up 5 coworkers. We can only win this fight to protect our agencies and our job, if we all participate in the effort. We can win, but it takes all of us. Now, before we dive into tonight's discussion, I want to thank every member who submitted a question for this town hall. More than 2,000 of you took the time to share your concerns, your frustrations, and your ideas. Now, we obviously can't answer every single question tonight, but what we have done is pull out the key themes and issues that came up most often, so we can focus on addressing the top topics on your mind. Now, during this town hall, we'll also hear directly from our legislative director, who will walk us through what's happening in Congress, and from our general counsel's office, who will provide updates on the legal victories and actions AFGE is taking to defend our members' rights in court. We'll also hear from local leaders about how this shutdown is impacting their local. Our task now is to bring this cruel shutdown to an end once and for all. As a nation, we can and we must do better. Now, we have to reject the partisan horse race and demand politics that put people first. Federal employees deserve better than what they have been given, and together we'll get it for them. Together we'll do this. Now, because we're in this fight together, and together we will win this fight. So without further ado, I want to turn the floor over to Daniel Horowitz, our legislative director, for an update on where things stand right now on Capitol Hill. So Daniel, would you go ahead, please?
Thank you very much, President Kelley, and welcome to everyone here. I'll talk about 3 areas briefly tonight and then save plenty of time for the rest of the program. First, the shutdown itself. Why is this happening? Well, A government needs 12 appropriations bills passed to fund the government on an annual basis. Unfortunately, because of the gridlock in Congress, none of those have passed this year. So on October 1st, the government awoke to no money. The House passed a continuing resolution in mid-September that would run through November 21st. And then the House left in an effort to force action from the Senate. The Senate has voted 14 times on that continuing resolution, and they have not agreed. They have never reached the 60 votes necessary to pass that and get that to the president and fund the government. Now, the House continuing resolution is a clean continuing resolution in the sense it doesn't change current funding levels. It does not speak to any of the hot button issues like healthcare or ACA subsidies. It simply funds the government. Now, without that bill passing, that clean CR or some other similar bill, there's no funding for the government, so we are shut down. Now, President Kelley has, over the last several weeks, spoken to many dozens of senators personally, one-on-one, trying to break this impasse, and I've been able to attend a number of those calls, and I know he has pressed each and every one of them to get out of this mess that we're in. That has not yielded results, but we are now seeing progress since the statement this past weekend when President Kelley called for passing the clean CR. And we're now seeing progress in several areas, and I'll talk about that more in a second. But before I do that, I want to say that even though we're in this shutdown posture right now, AFGE is continuing to fight for your collective bargaining rights, and we're making progress in that area. So before the shutdown, we got the bill, HR 2550, that will restore our union contracts. That has 222 sponsors in the House. So a majority of the House has sponsored that. And we're trying to move that onto the floor with what's called a discharge petition that would force a vote. That has 216 signatures. We just need to get to 218, and we are absolutely certain we're going to get there as soon as the House comes back within a few days. So we will get votes on that bill. We have a companion bill in the Senate that has 48 bipartisan co-sponsors. So there is a glimmer of hope there to get those contracts back. But more importantly, and more pressing, we are going to get collective bargaining back at the Department of Defense. And we have a way to do that through the must-pass NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. That contains language that would restore contracts at the Department of Defense. That's in the House bill. It actually passed the Republican House. And just in the last several days, 16 Republican House members came out in support of that specific language to restore our contracts. So we have a lot of momentum there. And you may say, well, that's just the Defense Department. What about my agency? Well, we are confident that if we can break the logjam at the Department of Defense, we will be able to get collective bargaining rights back at other agencies. So good progress to report there. And lastly, to the issue that President Kelley mentioned a few moments ago. In this shutdown, most federal workers are not being paid. Members of the military are soon not to be paid. We are working with a bipartisan bill that would solve that problem, not just for the current shutdown, but for all shutdowns in the future. So we create an appropriation so that whenever the government is shut down, money is available to pay federal salaries. So if we get that out of this shutdown, it will be major progress, and we will not face this situation again. And it's a direct result of AFG's working both sides of the aisle to end that shutdown, that is even being considered. So we had our red lines on that bill. It had to pay everybody. Last week, the Senate looked at a bill that would only pay people who were required to work, who were in accepted positions, but not those who were furloughed. And we refused to accept that. Democrats filibustered that bill, but now we're back with a much better bill. It will pay everybody. It will do it for this shutdown, all future shutdowns. We are going to be moving heaven and earth in the next few days to try to get that bill through, get it attached to continuing resolution or get it through on its own. We need that signed into law, and we may need your help in advocating for that bill over the next few days. Again, thank you for being here and look forward to the discussion. Thank you, President Kelley.
No, thank you, Daniel. Thank you for that update. And for all the incredible advocacy you and your team, are doing for AFGE up on the Hill. You've kept our members and our leaders in front of the lawmakers from both parties in the last month, and we appreciate your steadfast work during this weekend. Long nights, early mornings. Okay, and I personally want to tell you thank you. Now I'd like to turn to another group inside of AFGE who just secured a big win for our members. Rashad, our general counsel, will now give an update on our legal case and what our latest victory means for federal employees. Rashad, would you go ahead?
Yes, thank you, President Kelley. First, I just want to say thank you to everyone on this call for your service and for your steadfast support of our country during the shutdown. We know, we don't know how hard it is, but we understand how hard it is for all of you, and we're so happy that you are still standing in solidarity as AFGE members and supporters. I also want to reiterate, when we talk about litigation, I want to make sure that you all understand how important your contribution as members have been to AFGE's litigation and to the litigation throughout this country that has been important to protecting civil service rights for all Americans. It's because of the information and the efforts of our members that litigators have been successful in many of these cases. In terms of updates, as you probably are aware, AFGE has continued to file cases and litigate issues on behalf of federal employees. Our comms team has a great summary of all of the litigation on our AFGE website, so I'd encourage you to check that frequently. For today, though, I want to highlight three things. First, as President Kelley mentioned, and you may be aware, right before the shutdown, the administration threatened to engage in mass terminations or RIFs during the shutdown. We knew that was unlawful, and so AFGE partnered with AFSCME and a few other groups, and we went to court. While the administration was able to issue some RIFs before we got a decision on our case, we were able to secure a TRO, or a temporary restraining order, on October 15th that stopped the administration from issuing any further RIFs because of the shutdown. The TRO also stopped the administration from implementing any RIFs that were already issued. So it essentially paused the RIFs that were issued on October 10th, and it prevented the government from issuing any new RIFs. Based on filings the judge required the government to provide the court, we know that this TRO prevented thousands of RIFs from being issued across the country. We then went back to the court to have the TRO expanded into what's called a preliminary injunction that would extend the time frame it was on. We also invited several other unions to be part of the litigation to expand the scope or the coverage of the TRO. The court granted that request and issued a preliminary injunction that prevents the government from issuing any RIFs because of the shutdown or implementing any of the RIFs that it's issued since the shutdown. One important note, and this is because of some, Supreme Court decisions that recently came out, is that this injunction only applies to the parts of agencies that have members or bargaining units that are represented by AFGE and the other plaintiffs. This is important, and it may become even more important in future cases moving forward. And it's another reason why your membership is important to protecting your own rights and the rights of others. I know there's going to be a lot of questions on the scope of the injunction, and I'd encourage you to reach out to your local. We are in contact with most locals that are covered by this injunction, and they'll be able to either convey your questions to us or have answers we've already provided to you. I did want to note that, well, there are some RIFs that were issued before the shutdown, and they're not covered by this injunction. However, they may be covered by other cases, and we are also doing what we can to make sure we can obtain relief for as many members as possible. But this is a big win for AFG, and it is a big win that is made possible by our members. If you read the filings, you'll see that there are declarations from several AFGE members that provided the basis for this lawsuit. And it's because of our members that we were able to do this not only for AFG, but for all federal employees. Next, I wanted to quickly provide you an update on some of the other issues we're working on. While we continue to fight to get collective bargaining back at units that were impacted by the exclusion executive order, we also continue to pursue grievances and arbitrations at units that retain collective bargaining and to work on MSPB cases and other litigation to assist our locals fight for you. So please remember to join your AFG local and attend membership meetings because we are in constant communication with our affiliates and locals to ensure that we are trying to do what we can to help all of our members. Finally, I wanted to update you very briefly on the exclusion executive order case. This is the case involving the executive order that stripped collective bargaining from a large portion of federal employees. As you know, we received an injunction that found that the executive order violated the First Amendment. Unfortunately, that injunction was paused by a panel of 3 judges on the Ninth Circuit. We have asked the full Ninth Circuit to reconsider that pause and had several prominent groups support our request. We are still waiting, however, on a decision on that request from reconsideration. Irrespective of what the decision on that is, it's also important to remember that the decision to pause the injunction was a temporary decision on a temporary injunction. We continue to litigate the appeal of the injunction itself and the merits of the case in district court. So even though we don't have any immediate news for you, this is a battle we continue to fight, and we think we will be successful with in the long run. So that's what I'll leave you with for updates for now. But again, thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you for giving us the honor of supporting and representing you. Thank you again, and thank you, President Kelley, for allowing me to speak to our members tonight.
Thank you, Rashad, for that update and for all of the truly vital work that you and your team are doing to fight for civil service, the rule of law, and for our members' rights. The work that you and your team are doing with our allies across the country is inspirational, and it is important. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of your entire team and for this major accomplishment and all of the other victories that you secured for AFG members this year. We've shown and we're showing the real value of a union, that stands up, stands on principle, that fights and wins for its members. But there is important work going on all across this union too. And so now I'd like to turn over to a couple of local leaders to talk about how this shutdown is affecting their members and what they are doing to provide support. So first of all, I'd like to turn it over to LaShonda Palmer of Local 333, the president of the TSA in Philadelphia Airport. So would you please go ahead, please?
Good evening, everyone. Hi, President Kelley. Thanks for having me. I'm a TSA worker. I've been a TSA worker. I've been serving faithfully for the past 23 years. And I can honestly say I've seen many shutdowns. And this has been the most difficult one. The last one doesn't even compare to this. We're hurting. Some of us can't afford gas, toll, or even their medications. Yet, instead of compassion, we're being met with threats of discipline. In 2019, we came together. We fed everyone. No one was in need. No one who was in need didn't get help. Today, I'm standing not just as a president, but as a woman of faith who still believes that God can move hearts and restore compassion where there has been loss, where it's been lost. But at the end of the day, leadership isn't about power. It's about people. And if we forget that, we've all lost our purpose.
Yes.
As a leader, I stand on faith and fight in compassion. Because real leadership means standing with our people, feeding them when they're hungry, lifting them when they're weary, and never forgetting that service without humanity has no purpose. And I say all that to say, we're coming to work. We are doing the job that we took our oath to do nationwide, from agency to agency. We're doing what we're supposed to do. and we're not doing it with less enthusiasm, because we're still saying good morning, we're still saying hello, we're still coming in with the compassion that we had on day one when we took that oath. Yet we don't have that from the agency. We're not getting it from the Hill. We're not getting it at all. It's a different time. It's a different time. And to be threatened with discipline on top of what we're going through is unhumane. That's what I'm talking about, the lack of leadership. We're not getting it. We're struggling. The fact that people are calling me, they can't afford medication, they can't get gas to come to work. You can't get gas to come to work and do the job that you're supposed to. So at the end of the day, not only are you not going to get paid when this is over and they can issue discipline again, they're going to discipline you for not being able to come to work. It's not making any sense.
Okay. Well, thank you, LaShonda. I want you to know that I appreciate all that you're doing and all that your colleagues are doing to stand firm, in this issue. So, but next I want to hear from Jordan Harwell, president of Local 4012, representing Social Security Administration employees in Colorado, Minnesota, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Utah, and Wyoming. So please go ahead, Jordan.
Yes, thank you, President Kelley. Yeah, good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to speak here. Yeah, my name is Jordan Harwell, and I have the distinct honor and privilege of serving as local president of AFG Local 4012, which represents hardworking and dedicated public servants of the Social Security Administration in Montana, Colorado, North Dakota, South Dakota, Utah, and Wyoming, and Furries Falls, Minnesota. Now, our members work tirelessly every single day serving the American people and helping claimants and beneficiaries access their earned benefits. But now we are being asked to keep delivering earned benefits while our own financial situations suffer. Now, it's fundamentally unfair that our members have now missed an entire paycheck, and the last paycheck that was received was light. It was only partial. This lapse in pay has been extremely challenging on many of our members. The dedication and essential services being provided by our members deserve respect and admiration, not delayed and now missing paychecks. I stand with all of our members who are currently struggling, with those who have had to wait in line at a food bank to feed their families, who have had to forego medications due to lack of funds, or are now behind on their rent or mortgage with fees and interest piling up because of not getting a paycheck that they have earned. We have had members who are struggling to put food on the table for their children, and I think that is unacceptable on so many levels. Parents have had to face the extreme hardship of having to pay for daycare. This situation has been an extremely challenging time for many, including myself, and it's getting extremely difficult being behind on so many expenses. The only reason that Social Security checks are going out, retirement and disability applications are being taken, phones are being answered, and questions from the public are being taken care of is because we are doing our absolute best for the American people. We are on the front line and we are continuing to serve. Our local has helped our members try to access by compiling and helping members to access and find essential resources in these challenging times. We have been sending information on different resources, including food assistance, financial assistance, and other avenues of help. Myself and our executive board, we have made ourselves available to any member who needs individual help. And I think it's important that we as leaders of this local lend any necessary assistance. We have been advocating for increased flexibilities to telework at this time of missing paychecks. We have been educating our members on their rights related to episodic telework due to financial hardship and empowering our members so they know exactly how to exercise their rights. Many employees right now simply can't afford to put gas in their cars, afford parking, or other commuting expenses without a paycheck to cover these costs. We will continue to advocate and fight for our members, who are pillars of their communities, and whose contributions help Main Street throughout our local and help improve the lives of so many, including some of the most vulnerable people in their communities. Once again, I appreciate the opportunity to speak here today, and I am grateful to represent the courageous and dedicated members that make up Local 4012 And I truly believe that together and united we can, and I am confident we will get through this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you for sharing with us tonight. But next we'll hear from Kelly Keaton, the president of AFGE Local 2065 and Council 240, representing Marine Corps employees in Camp Lejeune, Cherry Point, Quantico, and some in Okinawa. So go ahead, Kelly, if you don't mind.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you, President Kelley. As he said, I do represent the local 2065 and the Council for the Marine Corps Base. I'm here because in this moment, as a local and a council union president, I have never imagined my primary focus at work would be finding food banks or calling sweet potato farmers and asking for his surplus of vegetables to become our donations, just so we can help our federal workers feed their families. I have trouble sleeping at night thinking about our members who might have gone to bed hungry, or the parents who are going to have to explain to their children in the morning why there's no milk for their cereal before they go to school. And I'm angry, just like the rest of you. I'm angry. Right now, hundreds and thousands of hardworking federal workers are caught up in the middle of this government shutdown. But you're not numbers on a spreadsheet to us at AFGE. You're real people. You're the men and women who process benefits and inspect our food, care for our veterans, protect those who defend America, and you keep our country running, even when our government isn't. Many of you are furloughed, sitting at home without pay, wondering how you're going to cover your rent or buy groceries. Some of you are still showing up every single day and grinding. You're honoring your oath. You're honoring your oath to serve your country proudly, but you're doing it without a paycheck. One of our members had to call out sick this past week, not because he was sick, but because he didn't have enough gas money to get to work. He went and knocked on neighbors' doors until he found $20 to borrow to put in his gas tank so he could go to work. That's what the shutdown doing to these people. And my duty as an AFGE local president is clear. We're going to fight for you, our members, not for any political party, not for personal gain, not for partisan gain. We fight for fairness, dignity, and respect for you. Because behind every missed paycheck is a family holding on by a thread and a worker that needs to know their service still matters. I received an email a few days ago from a member that took an early retirement because she was scared she'd lose everything if she stayed and she was ripped. And I want to read to you what she said to me in part. Quote, I used to cry almost every day, but the pain and the loss is easing up. And I'm trying to focus on the next chapter of my life. But I know I did my best to support and defend the Constitution and be a humble servant and do good work for people. I remember swearing in and taking that oath like it was yesterday, end quote. I support AFGE's stance telling Congress and this administration to end this shutdown. And I'm here to ask every one of you to help us. Call your representatives. Do it every day. We need to be reminding them of the oath that they took. We need to be loud and we need to tell them to do their damn job. And we need to do it every day. That's all I have. And guys, we're going to keep fighting because it ain't over. It's not over. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you very much just for being here tonight. Okay. So finally, we're going to hear from Omar from Local 2391, Vice President in Arizona, representing the Department of Labor employees. Omar, would you please go ahead? And it's good to see you.
Good evening, and thank you, President Kelley. It's nice seeing you as well. Everybody, my name's Omar, and I'm part of AFGE Local 2391, representing Department of Labor employees. We fall under the NCFLL, which represents all of the field and the Department of Labor. And I am blessed to serve as the Vice President for our local and also as the Legislative Political Coordinator. We represent the federal workers in the Pacific and the West Coast, including right here at home in Arizona. Our members, and when I say ours, I mean AFGE members in our communities, are struggling while they are working. Many are federal employees who've gone weeks without pay during the shutdown. Some are choosing between rent and groceries. Others are driving long distances to food banks. Our local, AFGE Local 2391, has stepped up for our members in Arizona. We've organized food collection drives and worked with community partners to provide meals and basic supplies to affected families. We've helped furloughed employees apply for hardship assistance and connected them with mental health and veteran support services. We currently have an event set up for federal workers on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025 in Tucson. If you need food, reach out. We also have gift cards available for union members in Arizona, provided by the Arizona AFL-CIO, our partners. There is a process for this, so if you are interested and you are in Arizona, please contact me or Ryan Mims, the LPO for District 12, for details. Ryan has been an enormous help to our locals and our members in Arizona. We continue to speak out publicly. We are demanding Congress show up and stop pointing fingers. Leadership means taking action and stepping up. We've worked and met with Arizona Representatives Greg Stanton, Yasmin Ansari, and Adelita Grijalva. They know our members take pride in their work. They serve the American people every day, even when the government fails to serve them. Our job is to stand up for them and make sure that they have food in their bellies right now. We need leaders in our locals who do not give up, leaders who show up for their communities and help federal employees get the support and dignity they deserve. This, right now, is our time to shine, to show our members why they elected us and what solidarity looks like in action. Let's keep standing together until every federal worker is back on the job and every family has what they need. Thank you, and I hope you are all stepping up for your members and showing them why you are their chosen leader.
Okay. Well, thank you, Omar, for all that you do for your members and for the Arizona AFL-CIO. I see you, okay? But I want to say thank you to all of our local leaders for sharing your stories with us tonight. Now I want to turn to some questions that we got from members in advance of this town hall. But before I do, let me just remind us, because I know that in the chat, I understand that there are some people that still are asking questions about how to pause e-dues, okay? And I want to say to you, that we have been thinking about, the same things that you're thinking about. Our members are going to have hard times, and some are not going to be able to pay e-dues during this trying time. So I'm going to ask you if you would make the request for hardship delay from your local president or your secretary treasurer, and we will enact that request. So once again, make that request through your local president, and we will take care of that for you, okay? Because we understand, and we was trying to think about that even before people began to ask, okay? So now, but over 2,000 questions were submitted. And I want to thank everyone who sent in a comment or a question to be addressed. Like I said, we've looked at all of those questions, identified the most common themes, and tried to pull out some representative questions to address the most pressing issues on the minds of our members here tonight. So let's go ahead and start with the first question, Angela. Can you read the first question if you don't mind?
Sure. Question 1 is from Danielle R. at the Army on pay and back pay. The question is, Mr. Kelley, when are we actually going to get paid? We keep hearing different things, and I'm worried I won't be able to cover rent next week. Does AFGE have any information about when back pay will hit once the shutdown ends?
Well, thank you for that question. First of all, I want to let you know that I understand the reality of the stress and the confusion that so many of our members are going through. And that's why that every time I get the opportunity, I alert people that federal employees and AFG members are struggling trying to pay their bills, and this shutdown needs to end. But AFGE will fight will fight to hold the administration to honor the law, which requires back pay to be automatic and promptly paid after this shutdown. Now, notice that AFGE was the catalyst for bipartisan legislation being drafted that would pay all federal employees, furloughed or working, for this future, for this shutdown, and for future shutdowns. Okay? Now, we will make sure that you get every dollar that you've earned, and we are fighting to make sure that you get it quickly. But we have been the catalyst. We have been out there saying that federal employees don't deserve this. They deserve to be paid. And I think that is paying off, and we just have to stay on track and make sure that it continues, to stay front and center, and that we will do. Okay? Angela?
Okay, question 2 is from James at the VA on accountability and congressional action. He asks, why can't Congress do its job? Every time there's a political fight, it feels like we're the ones who get punished. What's AFGE doing to hold lawmakers accountable?
Okay. Well, let me just say this to you, Brother James. You have every right to be angry. You have every right to be frustrated. I'm just as angry. I'm just as frustrated. And AFGE has been reaching out, in a bipartisan way, through a pressure campaign. There have been thousands of calls to Congress, over 15,000 media stories in October alone. You've spoken personally with members from the GOP and the Democratic side. But AFGE have been trying to get both sides to work together to solve this problem that are impacting AFGE's members, and we've been working with both Democrats and Republicans, trying to get them to understand that our members are suffering and they shouldn't be suffering, and they shouldn't be in the middle of this political battle. AFGE is not choosing sides here. We're choosing people. Our message to every lawmaker is simple. End the shutdown, pay our people, and stop using federal workers as pawns. Plain and simple. Okay? So thank you. Question number, next question.
Yeah, next question is from Jade at the EPA on AFGE's position and progressive concerns. The question is, I appreciate AFGE speaking out, but a lot of us want to see the union hold the line and take a harder stance. Shouldn't we be fighting not just to reopen the government, but to fix what's broken in it, including the healthcare issue?
Okay. Well, first of all, let me say that, I recognize your sentiments. We hear you and know that AFGE is committed to the larger fight for working people. We have never said that Medicare insurance premium shouldn't be one of our top priorities, because it is. I hear folks saying, hold the line, but the line that I'm focused on is the line of AFGE members standing outside food pantries for free groceries because they aren't getting a paycheck. Clearly, that's your goal, to shake up this situation so members of Congress can feel some urgency to make progress. And it's already working. We need to get government open so essential services can continue for the American people and our members can get paid. Now, no worker should have to go through the idea of being hungry to make a point to win a political fight. We can and we will fight for both fairness in government and justice for working people. I am when people look at me, they might not know this, but I haven't always been one that had insurance, okay? I didn't grow up that way. But therefore, it's very important to me. But right now, the importance of having federal employees be able to have a paycheck is the line that we have to hold right now. Okay? Thank you and for that question. So let's go to the next one.
Okay, the next question is from Michelle C. at the DoD on job security and long-term threats. The question is, there's a lot of talk about RIFs, privatization, and Project 2025. Are they trying to get rid of us permanently? What is AFGE doing to protect our jobs?
Okay. Please know that what you're feeling is real. Your concern is real. We try to bring this issue front and center, over a year ago, because we knew it was coming. But also notice that AFG's legal victory, the injunction that we have blocked, during the shutdown, as relates to firing, we are in this fight. Our legal team is winning these battles. The unions, political and legal fight to protect the merit-based civil service is going forward, and it will continue to go forward. We stopped the illegal terminations this week, and we'll stop them again if we have to. FGE will never allow anyone to dismantle the federal government without giving it every ounce of fight that we got. And we're going to continue to fight. And brothers and sisters, I can't stress how important it is that all of us be in this fight, that all of us stay in this fight. I know that they are trying to discourage us. I know they're trying to discourage the membership, but this is the time for us to stand up and stand together and stay in this fight, because ultimately, I do believe that we'll win this fight. So thank you for that question, but please, let's stay together. Okay? All right. Next question.
Okay, this is our final question from Victor D at Social Security on emotional toll and moral appeal. I've been a federal worker for 22 years, and I've never seen morale this low. What can you say to the people who are just plain tired?
Bro, I understand. I hear you. I know you're tired. But this union has never been stronger or more determined. When we speak with one voice in the courtroom, on the Hill, and at the work site, we win. And not just sometimes, we win every single time. You are the heart of this union. And together, we will end this shutdown and rebuild stronger than ever. I just need you all to trust that, because if we can just stay together and don't allow the noise to distract us, stay focused on the real meaning of a union, we will win, brothers and sisters. So let's do that together, and I hope that, all of you that's out there hearing me, I know we might not have access to clap our hands, but in your mind, just think, we are this union, and this union is strong because of me. And I have an opportunity to make it stronger. Therefore, tomorrow and the days coming, I will be talking to more and more people about being a part of this union so we can be more unified, we can be more stronger than ever. So, brothers and sisters, I know this shutdown has tested all of us, not just financially, but emotionally and morally. Many of you are exhausted. You've had to make impossible choices about bills, about family, about work. You watch politicians in Washington treat your livelihood as a bargaining chip in game that none of us asked to play. But I want to remind you tonight of one simple truth. You are not powerless. When we speak together, when we stand together, when we act together, we change things. The progress we've already made in the past few days prove that, because we raise our voices. When we do that, lawmakers from both parties are now working to guarantee full pay for all federal employees during this and any future shutdown. Because of our persistence, AFGE just won a federal court injunction stopping illegal firing. And because of your calls and your stories and your solidarity, we're starting to see movement in Congress to end this crisis once and for all. That is the power of a union. So don't lose faith. Don't lose hope. Stay organized, stay connected, and stay loud. AFGE will keep fighting. We'll fight in court, in the halls of Congress, in every agency across this country until every worker is paid, every job is protected, and every member of this union get the respect and the dignity that they deserve. This union has never backed down, and we will not start now. Together, we will end this shutdown. Together, we will defend our rights, and together we will keep building a government that serves the people. So with that, brothers and sisters, I say to you, I love you, I appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful night. But let's stay in touch. Thank you.